We're back. This is David here with Sapiens Forward channel. Going to do some more streaming today. Going to be playing AI Dungeon by Latitude Games. This is a pretty neat game. It's an AI based game, not in the sense that it has AI characters, but rather the game and the systems itself are generated and managed by AI models. Pretty interesting system. Been playing it for a few weeks here. Going to pick up where we last left off. I'm playing the Chosen campaign. This is a fantasy style campaign. So this has really got kind of a Dungeons and Dragons kind of feel to it. Inspired by Arthurian legends. Think of King Arthur, Excalibur, that sort of thing. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. I got my coffee here. I'm good to go. I'm going to play for a little bit. Now a little recap where this started out. There's a little intro here on the how the whole scenario starts out for the campaign. I'm a guy. He's got a sister. Our town, our little village is under attack by some knights from a order of knights that aren't so good in the kingdom that we live in. And we notice that they're attacking our village. But I have a sword, and this sword is pretty notable. Got it from our brother when he went off to war. So that's where the whole story starts. And from there, for a little recap of how things went from there, ultimately, we felt inspired having this sword, even though a young little lad ran down the hill to fight these guys, these knights that are attacking our village, because it looks like they had captured my parents. And so we go to see if we can do something about that. Ultimately, we get our parents freed. Our parents say, hey, you probably need to leave the village. There's a big conflict going on. We need to see if we can find some help. And we go off on a little bit of a journey. We run into some people along the way. We take a few stragglers from the village with us. Ultimately, we're trying to figure out what is this sword we have. We find out that it's a rune sword, which is rather powerful. We find an interesting guy named Mordred, who's a part of a sort of a cult of the old gods. And he says he thinks he can help us. So he joins us on our little trip, trying to find a place where we can learn the secrets of the old gods. Along the way, we also run into some more of these knights of Oromane. We find one who is a little bit friendlier than the others. Initially, we're thinking, oh no, we're going to get into a fight. But it turns out Sir Galahad, as he's named, is not very keen about the current leadership of the kingdom. It's currently being ruled by a regent. I think his name is Ethelred. And looks like he's trying to start something, maybe to get this tyrant taken down. So he joins our group as well. We continue along. We learn that past the mountains to the north, there is a place where we can find some help. We discover a crystal castle, and inside find a marvelous crystal orb that also has more power. We need to figure out how to use these things. While discovering and exploring around this castle, we discover a little portal to what seems like another dimension of sorts. And there's these shadowy figures there. They offer to teach us more about how to get power from the old gods and to use some of these weapons that have gathered to change our future and our fate. But it just seemed just way too suspicious. Like, just looked like kind of a light side and dark side kind of decision points. So I chose to not go the way with these dark side kind of figures, these weird creatures from another dimension and realm, and managed to get back through the portal, back to where everybody else was. And I think that's where I really left off. So we're going to load up the adventure here. And there we go. See, I rejected the offer. Cannot align myself with those who seek to wield such dark magic. So I went back through the portal. As you step back through the portal, the swirling colors and shapes fade away, leaving you standing in the crystal chamber once again. You take a deep breath, feeling the weight of the black-robed figure's words and warnings lingering in your mind. You make your way back to the surface, emerging from the castle, and taking in the verdant landscape around you. The air is crisp and clean, a stark contrast to the dark, foreboding atmosphere of the realm of the old ones. As you gather your thoughts and reflect on your experiences, you realize that the path ahead is fraught with danger and uncertainty, But you also know that you have the power of the crystal orb at your fingertips, and with it the potential to make a difference in the war-torn kingdom. You decide to return to your companions, sharing the knowledge and experiences with them. Well, now we have some choices. I need to figure out what am I going to be doing next. I think the most prudent thing here is to ask for some advice from my companions. See what they recommend. So I'm going to ask Mordred, who, if I recall, he is a skilled archer of a sort of band of cult members who follow the old gods. Advice. So ask Mordred for advice on what path I should take next on our quest. So I'm doing an action here. I can do a variety of things. I can I can have the story advance, or I can have it do a visualization. In this case, I'm going to do because I just feel like that is kind of the more effective way to approach how it's working with the AI and what I want to do. Let's see if I can get some advice. So Mordred looks thoughtful for a moment before responding. I believe it's time to seek out the Loyalist stronghold in the south. With the knowledge you've gained here and the power of the crystal orb, you can forge alliances and sway the tide of the war. However, be prepared for a long and grueling journey, as there are many dangers between here and there. You nod, appreciating Mordred's wisdom. You prepare to leave the castle and venture back into the world, knowing that there is much work to do. This elderly man, with his weathered face and staff adorned with various charms, seems kind and knowledgeable. Okay. Yeah, Mordred does seem kind and knowledgeable. When we first ran into him, I was like, oh great, we're going to get into a fight with somebody else. But no, he's been pretty helpful. And he's suggesting that we turn back south to the Loyalist stronghold. And I believe he's referring to the Loyalists being Galahad, Sir Galahad, one of our companions, and his compatriots, who are opposed to Ethelred the Regent in favor of the rightful king, I think it is. So I'm going to ask for further insights here. So I'm going to ask Galahad if this Loyalist stronghold to the south is the headquarters for his knights who are opposed to the tyrannical, that's a good word, regent. Just want to really make sure I have a good grasp of the context here and where we're going and why. Coffee time. Galahad nods in agreement. Indeed it is. The Loyalist stronghold to the south is a beacon of hope for those who oppose the tyrannical regent. There we shall find allies and support for our cause. Very good. Definitely need allies. With renewed sense of purpose, you, Mordred, and Galahad set off on the journey south, traversing the diverse landscapes of Brithholm. Brithholm is the kingdom we're in. You pass through dense forests, cross wide rivers, and climb towering mountains, each step bringing you closer to your goal. One day, as you descend from a mountain range, you notice a group of Oromane knights on the horizon. Their ominous banners flutter in the wind, and their war horses snort and stomp impatiently. Galahad turns to you and Mordred, his eyes filled with determination. We cannot let them pass. Okay, so these knights that we're seeing, they're definitely not friends. They're not friends of Galahad and the guys that are part of this resistance, apparently. Alright. So, I'd say since I've got a knight and this skilled archer, I mean, we got a pretty good crew here. Let's go ahead and confront these guys. So, let's take a do and move forward to confront the opposing Oromane knights in the distance. I want to make sure I'm moving forward with my group. my allies. Yep. So I'm going to move forward with my allies to confront the opposing Oromane Knights in the distance. Yeah, sometimes with this AI system, feel really like you need to be very specific about what it is you're trying to do. You know, when you're doing some kind of role-playing game in a tabletop setting with others, like just people, you know, there's a lot of room for nuance to just be interpreted right off the bat. But you never know with these systems. It's, you know, it's a pretty neat game, but you know, there's still a ways to go. The earth shudders as both groups of warriors draw close, each determined to prove their strength. You grip the hilt of your rune sword tightly. Now, this rune sword we got, don't really know a ton about it other than it seems to have some kind of mind of its own. Kind of crazy. It kind of gives me power. It gives my guy power in the sense of just feeling confident and strong. I'm not really sure the nature of this power and where it's coming from, but it's very interesting. So I grip the hilt of your rune sword tightly, feeling the power coursing through your veins as you ready yourself for a confrontation. Galahad stands beside you, his expression resolute beneath his helm, and Mordred, older but full of cunning, stands at your rear. Nice, nice. We got the archer back there, got the tanks up front. Stand down, Galahad calls out, his voice booming across the terrain. The Oromane Knights respond with jeers and taunts, making it clear there will be no surrender or retreating from this meeting. The battlefield becomes a whirl of clanging steel and chaos as the knights charge forth. The steady rhythm of hooves striking the earth fills the air, punctuated only by the cacophony of swords. Okay, I don't think me and my guys are mounted here, so we are at kind of a disadvantage. See if we could use a little bit of strategy here. What do I want? You know, I'd like to see Mordred picking off some of these guys, or maybe taking out their mounts from the distance, get them on foot. He's got a bow. That'd be pretty useful. Galahad, he's clearly in armor, so I kind of want him to be kind of up front and kind of distracting these guys. And maybe like I can, in my first fight in this story, use a little bit of subterfuge. See if Galahad can get their attention, I can kind of cause some trouble where these guys aren't really paying attention. So, I think that's the plan. So how do I want to put that in action? Encourage Mordred to use his bow to engage the enemy knights at range. Possibly, hopefully, disabling their mounts. And ask Galahad to distract the enemy knights while I try to flank them. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see what happens. Seems like a pretty good strategy. Mordred nods, nocking an arrow and letting it fly towards the charging horses. With uncanny precision, he strikes the legs of the animals, causing several to stumble and fall, sending their riders tumbling to the ground. Awesome. Exactly what we want to see happen. Feel bad for the horses, but these guys are bad news. We need to even up the odds a little bit, get them on their feet. The Oromane Knights, caught off guard, momentarily halt their advance. Taking advantage of the opening, Galahad charges headlong into the disorganized enemy formation, his sword flashing in the sunlight as he strikes down one knight after another. Okay. I mean, I was kind of hoping he'd just kind of like keep them busy and I could do some sword work, but I mean, he might just win this fight for us here. He's a knight. So, what should I expect? His fervor and skill quickly rally your group, who fight valiantly, managing to fend off the invaders. You, however, focus on flanking the Orome Knights. With the rune sword in hand, you move silently, slipping through the chaos undetected. Soon enough, you find an opportune moment to strike. So, in my first encounter in this story, as I recall, I was standing on top of a hill. There was a knight, one of these Orome Knights, at the bottom of the hill on his horse, spotted each other. They rushed down the hill, doing kind of a rather clever move to get his horse to rear up and knock him off his horse, get him on the ground, and I take him prisoner. Basically overpowered this guy before he could even do anything. And making him my prisoner, I was able to use that to my advantage to get these guys, these knights, raiding our village to set my parents free. Now, I don't have any friends who are hostages right now that I need to get freed, but there could be a benefit to trying to take one of these guys prisoner and not just killing everybody. Maybe I can learn some information or something else to our benefit. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to overpower one of the stumbling enemies, one of the enemy knights who have stumbled to the ground, and attempt to take them prisoner. Let's see if we pull that off. What happens? You sprint towards a knight who's struggling to regain footing after being hit by one of Mordred's arrows. The knight notices your approach and with a snarl raises his sword to defend themselves. However, you're quicker. With a surge of adrenaline, you swing your rune sword in a powerful arc, cleaving through the knight's sword and knocking them off balance. The knight falls to the ground, stunned and vulnerable. Cleaving through the knight's sword. Alright, so that's really saying, like, my sword cut through his sword. That's pretty incredible. That's kind of nuts. But it is a rune sword, so it's magical. So, good for me. That's pretty handy. Seizing the opportunity, you and your companions quickly move in, disarming the remaining knights. Ethelred's supporters, now clearly outnumbered and defeated, offer no further resistance. You manage to take several of them captive, securing their hands and feet with sturdy ropes. Breathing heavily, you take a moment to survey the aftermath of the battle. Nice. We did it. We got prisoners. We can do something with that. Okay. Let's see if they got anything that is useful. Let's search the prisoners. Search the captured knights to see if they have anything useful we can use for our quest. We can use to aid our quest. Let's use our words, right? What's gonna happen? Okay. As you search the captured knights, you find a variety of useful items among them. One knight is in possession of a sealed scroll case. It's parchment filled with details regarding Ethelred's stronghold and its defenses. Well, nice. Offering valuable insight that will help you plan a strategy to infiltrate it. Another wears a signet ring engraved with an image of a hawk and the initials RM. Potentially linking this individual to a wider conspiracy against the tyrant regent. Additionally, several knights still possess gold and silver coins, which can be used for resources, supplies, or payment for information along the rest of your journey. You also examine their weapons and armor. These armaments may either prove useful to your loyalists, or you may be able to use these trophies as tools of intimidation or bribes. Well, a lot of good stuff here. These guys are just walking around with information about ultimately our enemy's stronghold and how defenses are situated. Probably not the best move, but hey, you know, that happens. We'll happily take that information. This other guy's got a signet ring. So RM. So I kind of want to ask if Galahad knows anything about RM. If there's a larger conspiracy going on, and who's involved with that. Let's take the money and armor. So what we do is take the gold coins and armor and weapons. Distribute the weapons and armor to my companions to make us more capable in a fight, in future fights. Take the signet ring that is engraved. Take the engraved signet ring. I just gotta type it out. Say it exactly how I want it to work. Take the engraved signet ring as well as the scroll case. Finally, I'm going to ask Galahad about this signet ring. Engraved with RM. See if he knows anything about it. What do you know, Galahad? Tell me more. You collect the gold coins and distribute them among your companions, noticing the appreciative glances exchanged. Yeah, you got to keep your crew happy, right? Especially if it's a sort of a mercenary crew. An army does, it marches on their stomach, right? And food costs money. So sharing the spoils of our victory here is definitely going to ingratiate my team to me as their leader now. Noticing the appreciative glances exchanged, the arm and weapons you gather are carefully inspected and then distributed, enhancing the group's combat prowess. The engraved signet ring with the initials RM catches your attention. You turn to Galahad and ask, "Do you have any idea what this signet ring could mean? Who is RM?" Galahad takes the ring and examines it closely, his expression thoughtful. RM could stand for Roger Montfaucon, a high-ranking knight in Ethelred's service. He's known for his cunning and ruthlessness. If this ring belongs to him, it could provide us with valuable information or even a way to infiltrate Ethelred's inner circle. Alright, so this is good. This is good. So I can just imagine that, one of these enemy knights who we've now captured were in possession of this ring, who has the initials probably for Roger Montfaucon. There might be a better way to say that. That's why I'm going to go Montfaucon. Mount Falcon. He's a high-ranking knight, so having that signet ring is basically like, hey, I am operating in the orders of this guy who is close to the inner circle of the top guy, Ethelred. So let me do what I need to do and don't get in my way. We've got that now, which means we've got one more tool to help us infiltrate our enemy's stronghold. So we're going to hang on to that. Additionally, we've got that information about the defenses where it's located. So good stuff. Now that we've got some of that intel and some tools that can help us on our trip, got a difficult decision here. What do we do next? The easiest answer to that is to keep journeying south towards Ethelred's stronghold. But we've also got some prisoners now. Now, I don't want to be an evil guy here. The most evil thing you'd probably do is to just execute these prisoners. That would be pretty bad. They surrendered. They're powerless now. But also, I don't think it's going to make much sense to be taking into tow a bunch of enemy knights that are tied up and having them follow us all the way we're going. What if somebody escapes and warns them? At this point, they don't really know what we're doing. We're just some guys they ran into and had a scrap with. I feel like from a role-playing standpoint, since my guy is not some bloodthirsty killer here, I think the best thing to do would be probably to set these guys free and have them go in another direction. but maybe keep their hands bound. I don't know. I don't want them following me. So, but I don't want them to just die because they can't do anything. This is kind of a tricky situation, huh? You want to do something that's kind of appropriate to the role play of the character, but also kind of advance the story. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and craft a little narrative here. They keep them tied up together and bound their eyes, and maybe tie them to a tree next to a stream or something, right? So they can get some water, uh, but they're not completely just at the mercy of the elements, and maybe they can eventually work together to get themselves untied. In the meantime, it'll give us enough time to head on our way and try and get away from these guys. I think that's probably a decent way to approach this. So it's time to move on. Tie bound up our prisoners with rope. Bound them up together with rope. And blindfold their eyes. And tie them as a group to a nearby tree that is next to a stream of water, to a small stream, so they have some water. Tell the prisoners to not try to follow us, or we have to give them a little bit of a threat now, right? Well, or make sure they can't follow us next time. All right. So you bind the prisoners together with sturdy rope, securing their hands and feet. After blindfolding them, you tie the group to a nearby tree, ensuring they're close to a small stream for water. With a stern voice, you warn them not to follow or attempt to escape, implying that you'll take harsher measures if they do. All right. That seems okay. I mean, they're bound to eventually, for realism's sake, they'll probably work together at some point and get themselves untied. They'll do something, but maybe it'll give us enough time to not be caught up by them, and they'll go their own way. All right, so you and your companions continue your journey, moving deeper into the realm of Brithholm. The terrain becomes more challenging, with steep cliffs and narrow paths along the mountain regions. Your group, now strengthened by the captured weapons and armor, moves with newfound confidence. During your journey, you come across a secluded valley, far from any towns or settlements. In the distance, you spot a crystal castle nestled between the mountains, glowing with an otherworldly light. Yeah, I feel like we've run into some crystal castles before. What's happening here? It's an interesting aspect of the AI storytelling here. It's got some things which seem to be kind of baked into this particular story, the chosen story, but it just keeps taking me back to these crystal castles. So we'll just do continuous. I'm not really sure what the storyteller is trying to do here. We'll see. You squint as the sun reflects off its facets, creating a spectacle of dancing colors and patterns. A sense of anticipation builds within your core, and you find your steps quickening to explore this mysterious place. The castle seems to resonate with the same enchanting energy as your rune sword, causing its blade to hum rhythmically. You follow a narrow path etched into the mountains, edged by steep inclines and loose rocks that occasionally tumble downhill, clattering into oblivion. The treacherous journey tests your agility and resolve of even the most seasoned of your companions, Mordred and Galahad. Reaching the entrance of the castle, you find towering doors made of polished crystal, etched with intricate ruining inscriptions. The crystal is cool to the touch as you push the entrance ajar, revealing the ethereal beauty inside the castle. Well, let's see. Let's see. Maybe do a little visualization here. Huh? Let's see what it puts together. Make us a picture. What do we got? I like this feature. It's kind of neat. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes. Okay, that's pretty slick and ominous. Not sure if that's something I would just want to go inside, but we're going to. Go check it out. All right. Let's just keep it general. Let's see. Explore. Take my companions with me and explore the castle. What do we got? What do we see? Find anything? You step into the crystal castle, feeling the energy of the ancient runes etched into the walls. A spacious foyer stretches out before you, filled with shimmering crystal pillars that rise to meet the towering ceiling. Sunlight streams through the large stained glass windows, casting prismatic light patterns across the floor. A feeling of reverence fills the air, leaving you and your companions awestruck by the castle's magnificence. In one corner, a peculiar device catches your attention. It is an ancient-looking orrery with ornate moving parts depicting celestial bodies. Curious, you approach and notice that one planet has a peculiar shape, an obsidian crescent. As you fiddle with the mechanism, the orrery reveals a hidden compartment that contains a blackened tome. So I know an orrery is as it describes, it's kind of like a little device that can depict the movements, the physical kind of machine that can hold the globes and the solar system and how they move around, let's say the sun or something like that. Let's see what else it can pick up. I'm curious to see some of these visualizations. So let's do C. It's kind of like capture the text here, and I use that. That's as the context for what it's going to generate for that image. Yeah, no, that's pretty. Oh, look at that. Not too bad. Now let's see. I want to see what it does with this. We found this orrery in the blackened tome, which we definitely need to figure out what's going on with that book. That could be pretty important. Okay, interesting. Not quite what I would have imagined. It's kind of cool. Get some planets here. Something. All right, so we approach the orrery, we check it out, and we fiddle with it, and it reveals a hidden compartment that contains the blackened tome. So let's examine it. So pick up the blackened tome and examine it to determine what it is about. Let's use full sentences here. All right, what do we got? Is this some kind of Necronomicon or something? Carefully, you lift the blackened tome from the hidden compartment, intrigued by its heavy weight and the sense of history emanating from its pages. As your fingers trace the weathered cover, you notice elaborate, almost illegible runes etched in silver. You gently begin to open the book. The spine cracks with age. The once shiny silk bookmark disintegrates upon contact, and parchment pages flutter out. Each one appears to contain detailed sketches and annotations written in an ancient, practiced hand. You leaf through the pages, transfixed by the depiction of runic symbols that seem to dance across each page, connecting to various celestial bodies illustrated in the margins. All right, so could be a magical book here, something like that. We got runic symbols, but we're seeing depictions of celestial bodies, so at least we don't have some kind of skeletons and illustrations of dissections and demons and stuff. So maybe this book isn't inherently evil, which is a good sign. What do we got here, though? Let's see. Mordred seems like a pretty smart guy. He's an old guy. He's seen a lot. See if he knows anything about it. So we're going to ask Mordred. Ask Mordred if he can make sense of the runic symbols in the book, or determine its purpose. Come on, Mordred. Let's see if he knows anything about it. That would be handy. Mordred takes the tome from your hands, his eyes scanning the pages with a practiced gaze. He mutters under his breath, tracing the runes with his fingers. After a few moments he looks up, a solemn expression on his face. Uh-oh. This is an ancient grimoire, a book of powerful magics tied to the old gods and the celestial bodies. These runes are not just symbols, they are keys to harnessing energies beyond our comprehension. But with great power comes great danger. Yes. If used incorrectly, the consequences could be catastrophic. Galahad ponders for a moment, then nods. Well. Maybe Mordred knows how to use it? I mean, maybe he's a magical archer? That would be cool. Ask Mordred if he knows how to read and use the runic symbols to invoke these powerful spells. Let's see. Can he do it? Mordred looks at you with a grave expression. I have some knowledge of the old gods' runes, but these symbols are complex and intertwined with celestial energies. It would take time and study to fully understand their meaning and how to harness the powers they represent. Moreover, the consequences of failure could be dire. You nod, understanding the gravity of the situation. Despite the potential risks, you believe that learning to understand these ancient magics could be crucial to your quest. Mordred nods, acknowledging your decision. I will teach you what I can, but we must find a safe location and prepare thoroughly. All right. Nice. He's going to teach us. All right. Let's proceed. Find a safe location to prepare thoroughly. Do exactly what he says. And have Mordred instruct me on how to read and use the magical runes in the book. Let's see what Mordred can do for us here. You venture deeper into the castle, discovering a chamber with plush cushions, dimly lit by the glow of nearby crystal formations. The room offers a serene and safe space for studying. Mordred unrolls the ancient tome on an intricately carved stone table. The runic symbols seem to dance, writhing and wriggling across the brittle pages. He starts pointing out different sections and explains the various celestial symbols connected to runic magics. The learning process proves grueling and slow. Even Mordred has difficulties interpreting all symbols correctly. However, each revelation brings excitement as new potentials unveil before you, bolstering your drive. During these study sessions, the captured Orme Knights occasionally cross your thoughts. Huh. I wonder what I'm thinking about those knights. Alright, let's do a visualization. Let's see what it looks like. What does it come up with? Don't need that bit. Gotta get some of this text that gives us some descriptions of what's going on. Alright, what do you got? Let's see something here. Okay, yeah. You got this little scroll here. Found a place inside the castle. Some pillows back there. That's neat. Yeah. So I was thinking about those capture knights. Let me ask Galahad what he thinks. Finish our practice with the magical runes. And continue on. Ask Galahad. I'm gonna ask him, like, did we do the right thing? Galahad, if he thinks we made the right decision with the captured Oromade Knights. Who we left tied up. Okay, yeah, so we'll see what he thinks. I mean, he's a knight also, so he might have some thoughts on that. You close the blackened tome, the weight of its secrets heavy on your mind. Turning to Galahad, you ask, do you think we made the right decision with the captured Oromade Knights, leaving them tied up and blindfolded in that valley? Galahad looks at you thoughtfully, his gaze steady. It was a difficult choice, but I believe it was the correct one. We cannot afford to be burdened with prisoners. Right? Especially those who would gladly see us dead. By leaving them with water and warning, we gave them a chance to reconsider their allegiance. You nod, accepting his words. The journey ahead is filled with uncertainty and peril, and you must make tough decisions. Continuing your exploration of the Crystal Castle, you discover a grand library filled with ancient texts and scrolls. Okay, nice. Well, that's reassuring. It seems like Galahad agrees that we had a tough call to make, but what we did ultimately gave them a chance instead of just killing them right there and being done with it. I feel good about that. I feel like that's very much in keeping with the role play for this character. Still a young guy, not a bloodthirsty murderer or grizzled veteran from war. I think that was the most appropriate role-playing type of approach to that. And this is pretty neat how the AI storyteller is really buying into that and continuing that on. All right, well, let's check out this grand library. Take my companions with me to explore the grand library and see what is inside. See what mysteries it contains. What do we got? You step into the grand library, your senses immediately awash with the musty scent of aged parchment and the sight of towering bookshelves that stretch high above your head. A labyrinth of knowledge awaits you, filled with ancient texts, scrolls, and tomes that whisper tales of lore, magic, and history. Sunlight filters in through the tall arched windows, casting gentle beams of light upon the polished crystal floors. Dust particles dance in the air, swirling and twirling as they follow the light's gentle guidance. Your footsteps echo softly, each step marking your presence in this hallowed space. As you begin to explore, you come across a section dedicated to the old gods, their stories etched in runic symbols that sing tales of a time when magic and miracles flowed freely. Well, this looks good. This is fortuitous. We found the old god section of the library. I don't know if I have my library card with me, but nobody else is here, so I feel like we should really look through this section and see if we can find some more information about how to make use of all the various tools we have and artifacts we've collected. Peruse the section of the library dedicated to the old gods and see if we can find further useful information about how to properly use the magical artifacts we've found. Like my rune sword, crystal orb, and the celestial tome. The blackened celestial tome. Need the info. How do we use this stuff? I want to make sure we don't just go out there with this orb and start blasting. Not entirely sure what it does. You run your fingers along the spines of ancient books, their runic titles etched deep into the leather bindings. The weight of knowledge surrounds you as you search for information about the magical artifacts in your possession. Mordred, intrigued by your quest, joins you in scouring the shelves. Together you unearth tomes detailing the origins of rune swords, their creation tied to the old gods, and imbued with a will of their own. You learn that harnessing the power requires understanding and respect for the ancient runes, a lesson that resonates with your experiences thus far. In another section, you find scrolls chronicling the crystal orb's history. It is an artifact of immense power bound to a single user through a mystical connection. I want to see if we can find some more information about the orb. I mean, a rune sword, I get it. It's kind of like, it's got kind of a little bit of a mind of its own, kind of like an aura to it, and it's powerful. I get it. It's kind of straightforward what I do with it. Slice and dice, chop things up. But the orb, like, what does it actually do? I mean, what can I do with it? Find more information about the crystal orb. Powers. See if we can find more information about the crystal orb and what kinds of powers we can do with it. Like, you know, is it an orb for telling the future, or is it an orb for blasting people? Like, what does it do here? Delving further into the tomes about the crystal orb, you find references to powerful and ancient runes engraved on its surface, symbolizing the raw elemental forces of nature: fire, ice, wind, and earth. Mastering these powers and balancing their opposing natures can help unleash the crystal orb's fullest potential, as well as improve the wielder's affinity and command over it. However, misuse and a lack of proper knowledge might result in dangerous imbalances in its elemental energies, or worse yet, corrupt its bearer, pushing their inner darkness to take control and succumb to malicious tendencies. The weight of these secrets, you realize, may influence not just your path forward, but the destiny of Brithholm as a whole. Wow. That's pretty weighty. Mordred nods in solemn affirmation as your fingers glide along these revelations. Well, let's see if we can practice these runes some more. Ask Mordred if he can help tutor me on the reading of the orb's runes. He seems to know a lot, so it doesn't hurt to ask. I feel like we've got a key missing role in our party here, which is some kind of wizard or lore master. You ask Mordred if he can help tutor you on the reading of the orb's runes. He agrees, running his fingers gently along the crystal surface, pointing out the intricate patterns etched there. Each rune represents a distinct natural force. He explains: fire, ice, wind, and earth. The secret to harnessing the orb's full potential lies in mastering these runic energies. striking a careful balance between the opposing forces. You delve into the art of deciphering the ancient runes, with Mordred offering guidance as you slowly learn to discern each symbol's unique significance. The orb, a remnant of times immemorial, comes alive under your touch as its latent energy swirls and surges. The runes gleam in response, empowering you with the force of the elements. Wow. Okay, so it looks like we've got this thing working now. Let's let's see what we can do with it. Take the orb outside. So let's go back outside the castle and practice using the orb's energy power, elemental power, on some trees nearby. Let's see what we can do. You step out of the crystal castle, feeling the sun's warmth on your face and the fresh breeze rustling the leaves in the nearby forest. Selecting a few sturdy trees, you practice drawing upon the orb's elemental power, focusing on the runes for fire, ice, wind, and earth. As you trace the fire rune with your finger, a small flame materializes in your hand. It dances playfully, its warmth a comforting sensation. You carefully release the flame, watching it consume a small twig and then extinguish. Next, you attempt the ice rune. A chill courses through your veins as you draw upon the frozen energies. Your breath forms a small, delicate frost flower on a leaf, which glimmers in the sunlight before melting away. Turning your attention to the wind rune, you feel a gentle breeze strengthen around you. Alright. This is a real step forward, so now we're figuring out what we can do with the orb. It seems like it's kind of a channeling artifact to enable us to channel elemental spells or powers. We do all kinds of things. Fire, earth, ice is water. Earth might be what? Can we move a rock or something? I don't know. Seems like it's kind of like whatever we can think of. Wind, blow some wind. There's a lot of possibilities with something like this. Okay. Now I kind of want to see if we could practice a little bit with that book of celestial spells. Finish practicing elemental spells and return back to my group of companions. Ask Mordred if he can teach me I want to know what this book can do. Like, clearly it's dangerous and very powerful kinds of spells connected to the planets and stars and things like that. But what can it do? Powers we can unleash with the magical runes in the blackened tome. What does he know? I mean, we don't really have like a wizard in our group, but Mordred seems to be kind of like a lore master. He knows a lot of stuff. He can read these runes, at least some of them, so that's pretty handy. You return to your group, and Mordred, sensing your readiness, opens the blackened tome to a page covered in elaborate runes and intricate diagrams. He points to a rune representing a celestial body, then another symbol indicating a specific celestial event. These ancient runes, Mordred begins, unlock powers related to the very stars that guide us. When combined with the crystalline energies of the orb, they can summon phenomena like eclipses, meteor showers, and more, each with their unique effects. Okay, an eclipse, that's pretty cool. I've seen an eclipse before multiple times. I've been multiple eclipse experiences in real life. Like, pretty cool stuff. I could really imagine how people in ancient times were just freaked out by that. Like, what's happening? Is the sun going away? Is it going to come back? A meteor shower, that's a little more physical and in your face. That could be pretty handy. We want to learn about that. He carefully guides you through the complex process of preparing the runes, casting the spells, and controlling their outcomes. Together, you practice these runic combinations, harnessing the orb's energy and summoning various cosmic events at will. Nice. All right, I mean, we didn't have a wizard, but I kind of feel like my guy's kind of turning into a wizard. Maybe like a warrior mage. I've got a sword. I got a spell book. I got an orb. I mean, I'm kind of getting there. All right. All right. Well, let's see if we can practice. I want to do this meteor shower. So let's go practice that. Go back out of the castle to the nearby forest and practice calling a small meteor shower using the runic spell from the book. Calling a small meteor shower nearby. I mean, let's see what happens. Just start slinging spells. I mean, Mordred's given me some instruction. We're ready. You venture out once more into the forest beside the crystal castle, excited and slightly nervous to wield the celestial powers you've unlocked. Yeah, I think being a little nervous is prudent. Mordred joins you, keeping a cautious eye on your surroundings. You focus on the relevant runes in the tome, visualizing them, growing bright as if in response to your determination. Carefully, you pronounce the incantation whispered to you by Mordred, each syllable resonating in harmony with the runes, summoning the primordial energies of the universe. The orb hums gently in your hands as if alive, attuning to your will. With the final invocation, you release the energies skyward. Tiny, glowing pinpricks streak down through the heavens, dazzling you and your companions with their mesmerizing dance. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not quite what I thought we were going for. I played too many games. I was thinking meteor shower, like, these things are going to collide with the ground and, like, blow stuff up. But, I mean, this is still really cool. I mean, this is kind of like they're still in the sky. So I'm going to visualize this. Let's see what we got. Okay. Well, looks like somebody wearing a dress. Let's retry. We're in the forest. Magical power lights. That looks pretty good. I like that. It's got the orb. This is a good one. It must be Mordred here. This is good stuff. Pretty neat. Alright, well, it sounds like we could do some cool stuff with the orb and using that spell book to give us ideas on how to invoke some types of celestial events. So, those were just some kind of sparkling meteors in the sky, some shooting stars, but we'll have to use our imagination more. If we run into some danger, if we can use that to our advantage. I can imagine a scenario where, like, if we need some kind of distraction to keep everybody focused on something else while we're trying to achieve some objective, it's like, hey, now's a good time for an eclipse. Let's have a solar eclipse happen right now. Everybody's like, what's going on? Don't mind these guys sneaking into the castle. I'll have to keep that tucked away for later. All right. Well, let's see if we can kind of finish off this session with kind of like a recap or kind of a jumping off point into continuing our journey. So, ask Mordred if he thinks we are ready to continue on our journey south. towards the enemy stronghold. Let's see what Mordred thinks. I mean, it's kind of my guide at this point. What do you recommend, Mordred? Mordred studies you with a thoughtful expression. I believe you made significant progress and gained invaluable knowledge, but the path ahead remains treacherous and unpredictable. Continual practice and preparation will serve us well, though I sense that time grows short. We must ultimately trust our instincts, and when the moment arrives, act decisively. Are you prepared to journey southward towards the enemy stronghold? All right. Well, I think that is a pretty good closing spot. I like ending a session on kind of like a framing point like this, because really it means I can open it back up and kind of kick off on the next session saying, yes, I want to continue, or no, I want to do something. It really doesn't want to like end a session on a part in the story that has like nothing happening with it. So I think that'll be good. Anyway, well, thanks for watching. If you catch this clip, I'm going to pick this up again next time, and we'll see where we go with